Howdy folks, and it's Monday. Thought I would build a pegboard for my tools for my 3D printing. So behind all my 3D printers, I would put this really cool 3D printed pegboard system up where I could hang my calipers and the various tools and things that I use for 3D printing. And yeah, the first piece sort of, can you see that mess? It's all stringy, hairy, it's all bent out of shape. The files called for PETG instead of PLA, which is what we usually use for most of our 3D printing. And PETG is cool, but it's a learning curve, and I didn't realize how much learning I was going to need. But yeah, let's talk about the curve. So welcome to the 3D farm. We've got 4 printers on the shelf here running, and they run different jobs off, but I decided I was going to try this pegboard idea and put it behind the wall, behind these machines. It would be a place to keep the small stuff and all the knickknacks, and also some shelving and that sort of thing. So it's like pegboard, but it's really different. It's honeycombed, and you can get different things that plug into the honeycomb. Found it over there at Printables. It's Joseph Prussia's site there's got it with Prussia, and they've actually set these things up for Prussia to run, I guess, but these pieces here interlock, and so you can keep building this and plugging these little things in like Lego and just making the sheet itself bigger and bigger and bigger. You can have this thing 3 feet by 6 feet, or whatever you like, so it's kind of cool. But the PETG was a problem, and that turned into a bigger and bigger problem. And I've had trouble with ASAs and some of the more exotic filaments before. PLA is a common one. You go, when you get your first printer, you're going to buy some plastic for it. You buy a roll of PLA in whatever color you like, and you run some models off or something. But the problem with PLA is when it gets into conditions like just the garage here, where it's hot, it's cold, it's humid, it's dry, and we can get 110 in here, we can get almost into freezing temperatures in here. So PLA would not be ideal out here in these conditions. What you really should be using is PETG. PETG is a lot better for that sort of outside kind of thing. So they called for PETG with this, and it was like, okay, we'll do it with PETG. And I think you could do this with PLA, but for argument's sake, we'll just go with the recommendations and say, okay, we got to run PETG. So I've got to roll some spools here, and we tried the different machines. This machine has glass, so it's sort of a problem. It doesn't want to, PETG doesn't want to stick to it, or it breaks off halfway through the print, and then you end up with what you saw, where you had stringing and hairballs of plastic just all over the place, and a real mess. And also, when PETG is finished, if there's already like a curve or something's happened in it because of the print didn't hold properly, you've already got problems, so your model's a piece of junk at that point. So these are really good. They come out, they're nice and flat. There's nothing wrong with them at all. This is great, but this took a learning curve to figure out. I had to keep upping my temperatures on my bed, which normally I run at 60. I ended up at 80 in order to keep these things flat down. And the nozzle temperature, usually I run 200. Well, I ended up at 230 degrees Celsius on the nozzles settings in order to get this right. In fact, you could do it at 220, but we still had some stringing showing up. So at 230, it was like, okay, the stringing's gone and the models are coming out perfect. So like, okay, this is what we got to do. The next problem was, what machines can do it, what machines can't. Let's take a look at the 2 machines I'm running PETG on right now. So the 2 machines I've got running right now is the longer LK4 Pro, and it has the capacity to run the PETG and run the temperatures, and also has that textured bed, which is that it just seems like that seems to be sticking, so it's like it's a win. Same with the little King Rune here, just finished, and it has a textured bed, and again it can reach the temperatures without too much trouble in order to run PETG. So I'm running black on here, orange on here for the project. So I've got got these really cool different little pieces that plug into these models right now. The LK5 Pro is a larger machine with a bigger bed, so it's running these off. In fact, this is, I think, the largest model that's on printables.com. It's under the Prusa stuff, and this is the largest size. You can make these in smaller sizes for machines like I've got sitting here, but it was like the bigger is the better. Yeah. So the LK5 Pro was like, okay, we're gonna have to figure out a way to get the LK5 Pro to make these things, and that way I can start piling these up, because I'm gonna need, I think we're going to print something like 9 of these and interlock them with the these little puzzle pieces that come with it, and then I'll run across the wall and hang it, you know, and then I'll be able to put all my tools and shelving and anything else up there I want behind these printers. I'll have a little tool area kind of thing, and it'll look cool. It's black and orange is what they show on the site, and I went with black and orange and also added some red in there, just, you know, some color changes. But it's really a cool looking pegboard when it gets done. But the PET G has always been kind of a problem for me. So let's go over to the bench and I'll tell you a little more about. So over here at the table I've got 2 of the pegboard pieces, and like I say, you can just keep making these things and they interlock like that. There's 2 pieces right there. And then they have these little plugs that are duals, and they also have quad, you know, or 4-piece that will interlock these together. And then these here are really cool. They have a countersunk hole in them, so you can put these at the top and the bottom and whatever, and nail this thing up into your wall, into your 2x4s or whatever you have behind you, and that way you can, you know, actually hang these things, and it becomes your pegboard. And just these 2 pieces here, for example, I'll just put a connectors in, and these snap in tight, and I'll do it over here as well. There we go, snap in tight. And now you've created, you know, 2 pieces of pegboard so far. But I've got more coming off the printer. So later this week I hope to have, I guess, 9 of these panels made so that I can put a fairly large pegboard system up. They also have all kinds of little doodad things like these little hooks. And they're hexed so that if this thing is hanging and you plug this in, you now have a hook. You can hang cable, or you could put 2 of these together and have a little thing for holding tools, that kind of thing. It's an impressive kind of looking pegboard system, and I really like it. When I saw it, I says, man, I gotta have that. This looks really cool. So we'll see how it goes. This is started on Friday, and of course the first, we'll move this out of the way. The first disaster was the PET G thing. I really had a problem with PET G. And if you ever get filament for your system, the manufacturers seem to generally pretty much put recommended temperature and a recommended bed temperature here on the spools. And if you pay attention to that, like I didn't, you can save yourself a lot of trouble right there. But the bed itself, I'm not so sure of, because glass, I've printed on glass for years, and I've always enjoyed it because you get a really nice, flat system. This is, I don't know if you can see this very well, but this is really textured, and that's because of the texture of the magnetic bed print that I have over there on the longer LK4 Pro, for example. So it comes off on the model, and it's okay, it's cool. I don't have a real problem with it, but I've always used glass for years because it came out really smooth. But it doesn't necessarily allow you to hold the model very good. And I don't use glues, and I do not use hairspray. I don't believe in using that stuff. I don't want that around my machines or around me, so I just don't use it. And so, if you get into 3D printing and you get a printer, one of the things to look for is the first spool you buy. Check these temperatures out and see what they're calling for. And if you're using Ultima Cura, you can go into your settings and you can actually set these temperatures for that print, so to make sure the machine understands, okay, this is what I'm going to be using. And normally I run 200, which is, as you can see, on the low side. I could run 210 or 220 even, for that matter, just from what I'm seeing here. They're saying as low as 195. I'm kind of surprised at that. But, this is just silk Cosmos from King Rune, as a matter of fact. What's left of it, I've used quite a bit of it for a couple of models around here. But the thing is 200 is usually pretty good for most PLA. I also run PLA Plus, and at PLA Plus, I haven't really seen or haven't had to dial in any difference in the temperature here. But when you run PET G, wow, yeah, you've got to run, I'm running 80 on the bed, and you can see here I'm running 230, which is, everything is just simply hotter. but it's working, so that's a good thing. And PETG is really flexible as far as outside and atmosphere and humidity and things. It won't warp or get weird on you like PLA will. That's the problem with PLA. It's great in the house, you know, if around the house, whatever, PLA is fine, but if you're going to be out in the car or outside or something, you're making a fixture that hangs outside or something, you're going to want to use something like ABS or ASA or PETG. And I don't even know if PETG is all that great. I've heard it's fine, and it seems to hold its shape, but yeah, the differences are really strange, because one of the weirdest things with like PLA like this, it's actually more, I guess we'll say, brittle. You know, it's a very hard plastic when it gets done, but it'll strangely do some weird warping things on you over time if it gets outside. So for a project for a 3D printer, this is I think this is a pretty cool one. It sort of become decorative to the wall, but also very useful print, again, like I said, for holding tools and stuff. This is referred to as a honeycomb peg wall, and I'll give you a link in the description below where you can find this particular project for 3D printing. And like I said, be warned, don't do like I did. Started off on Friday, and by Saturday it was like, oh, I think we're getting close now. Each of these panels is taking my machine about 8 hours to print, but it's not at the highest speeds, it's not the ultimate settings. I'm going to check that and just have a look, because I went with the highest quality setting for printing these, and I think it said that use like a draft setting, which is like a lot faster. So I'm going to take a look at that, because I would like to get these things knocked out a lot faster so I can have the rest of the project on its way. I would like to have showed it to you today, but I got 2 panels made so far since Friday, and this is Monday. So yeah, we didn't do too good on this one, but it's coming, you know. Anyways, we'll get that link below so you can find this project, and there's about 25 different accessories that plug into the honeycomb on the wall to give you little boxes, little shelves, and some knick-knack stuff that holds like SD cards, stuff like that, which is really cool. And wow, you know, it's definitely, I think, worthwhile, because it's very decorative looking and at the same time very functional. And behind the 3D printers against that wall, it'll be a good place to store all that other, all the miscellaneous nozzles and stuff that goes along with owning a 3D printer. Meantime, hey, let's say thank you so much for watching Coffee and Tools, and please like, share, and subscribe, and ring the notice bell. We have a contest Thursday. I think we're giving away a meter, and next Thursday we'll have something else, of course, giving away. So, you know, it's always worthwhile to, you know, check in and see what we're up to. Yeah, this is going a lot slower than I realized. So, hey, guys, I'm out of here. Over and out.